I hate Tornadus-Therian. It is everything I dislike about competitive Pokemon. As an offensive threat, it can struggle to break through popular defensive Pokemon, tending to be more useful as a mid-tier role player instead of the top-tier threat it's advertised as, usually just clicking U-turn and healing off attacks with Regenerator. But most importantly, it can just miss its best move. I mean, how many times have you played Pokemon and lost because you missed the move you needed it to hit? Is Hurricane the worst move in all of Pokemon? Despite all of this, players still look at Tornadus-Therian as one of the best Pokemon in Draft League. Hell, even I've used it on countless occasions over the years, so why would I use it in this Pokemon Draft League? Returning to the BBR, we are back into normal Scarlet and Violet Draft League, with the Ubers from the BBL back on the ban list. A fun detour, but definitely excited to have them back where they belong. We got the 8th pick in the draft this time, which is actually quite bad. Picking in the middle of the draft opens up a ton of risk, having to wait 16 picks until you're next up. This requires a lot of trust in your plan and that the people around you won't take what you want, which can be a pretty scary proposition when looking for key roles in the middle of the draft. As you can probably guess, our team starts with Tornadus-Therian, one of the most expensive options available to us. So how can I convince myself that this season will be any different? What tools am I going to give myself access to, allowing it to shine in its best offensive roles? Entry hazards are a key aspect of any team in Draft League, especially Pokemon that can get up spikes consistently. Samurott Hisui is probably the most efficient hazard setter in the tier, with the move Ceaseless Edge dealing damage while setting up spikes. While these hazards do play really well with our first pick, it continues to add variance to our team, as Ceaseless Edge does give us another move we need to rely on with lower accuracy. The value given though definitely outweighs the risk, however, and gives us a top 2 that will put a lot of pressure on our opponent's team building decisions, forcing them to often bring hazard removals that can be taken advantage of by our Tornadus-Therian. Round 3 is our first big decision of the draft, with a wide variety of powerful offensive breakers still available. Tornadus-Therian is commonly paired with Kyurem, one of Scarlet and Violet's best offensive dragon types. Despite it being available, we go a different route with our Chaladon, a Pokemon that has been on my radar ever since it was released in the DLC. Why the deviation though from what Tornadus-Therian teams normally do in this spot? The main reason is my own weakness to entry hazards. When looking at how to approach drafts, I often look at DPL teams to get a sense for combinations that work well and against well-constructed teams. These are 8-player draft pools though, which with half the players makes it easier to get roles like hazard removal. You'll often hear me say hazard removal doesn't matter in Generation 9, and that mainly applies to the 16-player draft format, where most of the options outside of the top few just aren't worth the draft pick. I'm looking at you specifically, Serena. This makes our challenge on the pick, also adding a Stealth Rock user to the team, building a resilient hazard game to enable our Tornadus-Therian offensively. With our offense starting to take shape, we need to make sure that we have a utility Pokemon on our team able to remove pressure from Tornadus-Therian from operating in that role. Screamtail fits the bill, finding its way onto another one of my teams. It was one of my most used Pokemon in 2024 for a reason, with a great speed stat of 111 and utility moves like Encore. It is hard to deny the impact that this Pokemon can have on games. The speed stat here is the key, allowing it to take over responsibility from Tornadus-Therian, with the majority of common Terra captains or setup threats outsped by the defensive powerhouse. By the end, you'll notice our team also has an abundance of fighting weak Pokemon, which Screamtail does a great job of walling. In terms of defense and utility, there is truly no Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet better than Screamtail. With our good friend OG Albina taking the season off to play VGC, Crocodile actually finds itself on the board in a realistic round to draft it in. We had it in LTM as well, our most successful season since coming back to Draft League, and Owen has won the last 2 leagues he has used it in. Maybe Crocodile is a Draft League YouTuber's game changer? Who knows? Regardless, we need a ground type though to punish players from using Terra Electric on their Terra captains to counter our Tornadus-Therian, and Crocodile is one of the best ground types in the generation at doing just that. Beating water types, especially Terra captains, was a big issue for our team in the BBL. As the team starts to take shape, it was looking like this team was going to have a pretty similar issue. Serperior is there to help solve this, while also boasting a wide variety of utility moves like Glare and Screens to enable our offensive Pokemon. A common criticism of Serperior is its lacking move pool, putting it nicely, but for 8 points it's hard to deny what it can do in terms of breaking water types with Leaf Storm and Contrary. Having access to multiple win conditions is crucial to a successful draft, forcing your opponent to have to prep for multiple endgame scenarios. Volcarona is my favorite pick for this role, as Quiberdan sets usually require a lot of prep to prevent them from taking over the game. It has struggled to make an impact in Scarlet and Violet drafts since it was banned from using the Terra mechanic, but it was a great inclusion on my team last season, showing that even without the additional coverage and the ability to remove the often poor bug and fire typing, it can still be a dominant threat in the current metagame. Scarlet and Violet Draft League is known for having plenty of variants, known Mickey strats if you will. Sableye for 5 points is a clean way to help manage those, with Prankster giving access to fast Will-O-Wisp and other utility moves. Being a ghost type as well is super important. Outside of the obvious fighting immunity, gives us a Pokemon to block Rapid Spin, allowing us to keep our entry hazard set up by Samurai Hisui on the field as much as possible. Gyarados is our final pick in the draft, utilizing the rest of our points to get a Pokemon that can help shore up some key defensive matchups higher up the tier list. It can also be a Dragonade sweeper, as we showed in our run in GBU a couple years back, but without Terra that's going to be pretty difficult to actually pull off. But above all else, we need to get back to our first pick of Tornadus-Therian. Why is it going to be different this time around? That answer is Terra. Draft League in Scarlet and Violet is currently played with teams selecting a number of Terra captains, which can be any Terra type in battle. The catch? The type has to be previewed before the start of the battle. How does this fix Tornadus-Therian's issues? It does two things: give it access to reliable flying coverage and the ability to break neutral walls that might otherwise wall it. In a perfect world, Tornadus-Therian is running Nasty Plot every week, using Terra to get a typing coverage to take advantage of your opponent's team. There are plenty of matchups where the flying type is going to be overwhelming offensively, and being able to run Nasty Plot and Terra Blast flying to have no risk of missing is a massive level up for the consistency of this Pokemon. Then there is the other benefit of Terra, unlocking the rest of the potential that Tornadus-Therian has, which is getting access to any type you could need coverage for. Running into Unaware Clefable, Terra Poison or Seal could help break through after some hazards damage. Someone pick up one of those frustrating low tier electric types that just somehow magically wall Tornadus-Therian? Terra Ground. Almost every flaw that offensive Tornadus-Therian has can be solved by Terra, and with a great team around it, we should certainly see it thrive in the way it was meant to in Pokemon Draft League. With our team set, it's time to get back to work on what will hopefully be a return to the top of a Pokemon Draft League. If you enjoyed this video and like the team we have this season, make sure to subscribe to the channel to not miss a single upload. We also have a new Discord server where we talk about all things competitive Pokemon, and you can stay up to date with everything to do with the Orlando Magic card. Our season kicks off next week against Who, the champion of the BBR Summer Scramble tournament. Hope to see you there.